Good morning, students. Students, I, Anil Kumar Swai, welcomes you back to the online Gyan Jyoti online classes. Students, today we will read history, and the name of the chapter is Architecture as Power. Previously, in the last class, in yesterday, we were studying the chapter the Mughal Empire, the creation of Mughal Empire. So, what were the different types of rulers? Who ruled, what were the how was their administration type. So that was all about Mughal Empire. Now we will study architecture as power. Students, you know that the architecture, the art of architecture, the art of making buildings is known as architecture. That played a major or prominent role in shaping the great dynasties. It may be Gupta dynasty, it may be Mughals, it may be the Mauryan dynasty. So that nowadays also we can see the famous buildings and palaces and different types of monuments made by the Britishers. So that played an important role in the functioning of great kingdoms. So why, students? Why architecture plays? Because students, you know, the kings or the emperors, they make to show off their wealth, their power. So different types of monuments are being made in different corners of the country. It may be a temple, it may be a palace, it may be a rest house, sarai, what we say in Hindi. So there are different types of monuments being made by different kings. So that is a sign of power. They were all patrons of art and architecture. So what is the art and architecture all about? We'll study this chapter in detail. So students, the first line of the chapter is monuments are like architecture. Sorry, documents. So students, what are documents? Document means there are some evidences, I can say, by which we can know that what happened in the earlier past. So they are one type of proof. Students, they depict particularly the power and position of their builders, and their influences, what they have got the influences from different dynasties, different places, different countries, that can be shown in the architecture of the different buildings. They also depict the level of technological and engineering skills with which they were built. More importantly, monuments depict the trend of coming closer to cultures. So they proved that different cultures should come together and under one roof. In this chapter, we will find out the architectural styles that developed in India during the medieval period. Students, the rulers of medieval times built magnificent structures. Other men of wealth and power, they also constructed different palaces, buildings, and they showcase their power and wealth by building such monuments. They constructed buildings for either performing religious rituals or for non-religious purposes. They were meant for a purpose. All the buildings were being made for a purpose. Then they were raised at different points of time, and by that time different persons belonging to different communities, they made buildings of different types according to their religion. Okay, students? Then, so students, we can broadly conclude that medieval architecture can be classified into two main categories. The first one, students, the first one is the religious monuments. So what comes under religious monuments, students? The first one is the temples and mosques. We already know that the advent of Islam was during the medieval period, but the number of mosques were very less, but the temple number was very much higher than it. So temples and mosques are called religious monuments because, students, that was related to religion. Then, students, the next one is secular monuments. So what do you mean by secular? Means every people belonging to every religion, they can use that buildings. So what were they? They were forts, palaces, havelis, public buildings, water tanks, and etc. etc. So These were being used by every community. So, students, let us discuss them in detail. That what were the two different types of monument. The first one is, students, temples. Students, you know that temples are the religious place of the Hindu people. And they play a very important role in our life. So every important king or an emperor built a temple. Their numbers may vary from time to time, but every emperor built a temple. The kings of the Gupta dynasty built temples during the ancient period. The Chola kings built magnificent royal temples such as the Brihadeshwara at Tanjore. Brihadeshwara temple at Tanjore, students, is famous for its magnificent looks and its architecture. The Pallava rulers contributed the rock-cut shrines. So, students, in the first chapter or in the second chapter, I can recall that the rock-cut shrines are very popular in Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu is famous for their temples. You can find numerous amount of temples in the state of present Tamil Nadu. Also in the ancient time, in the medieval times, it has been made. Then, students, some of the magnificent Jain temples, such as the Dilwara temples in Mount Abu. Mount Abu, situated in present day Rajasthan, is there the famous Jain temples. They were also built during the early medieval period. Students, in our state also, we can find number of temples, and our state capital Bhubaneswar is also called as the city of temples. Students, then, the earliest temples were very small in size. They had a shrine room where the idols were being worshipped, and there was that shrine room is known as the Garbhagriha. In Hindi, we tell it as Garbhagriha, and an entrance hall. With the passage of time, additional rooms and halls were added. The open courtyard came to be surrounded by a wall. The wall had a gateway, okay, students, called Gopuram. So the gateway was known as the Gopuram. The gateway was called as the Gopura. A Sikhara was built over the central sign. The images of other gods of the saints were kept in the courtyard or in the hall. The image of the god or goddesses was placed in the shrine room. The walls were covered with sculptures. Students, during the Pallava period, temples were carved out of large rocks, and or else they were cut into from hillsides. The single rock was carved out to make a whole temple, and this was the sign of a magnificent architecture in building different temples. So later temples were constructed and blocks of stone on the ground. Images of deities during the Chola period were made either in stone or in bronze. The architecture of these temples can be divided into two parts. The first one is the Dravida style, and the second one is the Nagara style. Students, the two main types of style of making temples were the Dravida and was the Nagara style. Especially the architecture of these temples during the medieval times, it was divided into two distinct styles. The first one is the Dravida style, the second one is the Nagara style. The style of architecture of the Chola period is called the Dravida. Students, the It was the style of architecture during the Chola period. During the Chola period is called the Dravida style, and this was because the style was confined largely to South India. Okay, student, you know that the Chola kingdom is a famous kingdom of the South India. So this was mainly the temples were mainly made up of Dravida style. Then we'll study it in detail that what was the Dravida styles. Students, we know that the Chola kingdom was mainly prevailing in the South India. So what was the Dravida style? So in the Dravida style, story upon story was constructed above the Garbhagriha. Students, as I have told you that the shrine room, that is called the Garbhagriha. So one story upon different stories were being constructed, which is the innermost sanctum of a temple, where the idol of the primary deity means, students, Devi Devta in Hindi we say as the Devi and Devta. Okay, students, that of the temple is kept. The number of stories increases gradually from 1 to so 1, then 2, then 3 in a numerical manner. It increases gradually. The main temple tower is called the Vimana. The main temple tower is called as the gateway was known as Gopuram, the main temple tower is called the Vimana, which is shaped like a step pyramid. Students, you have seen most of the temples, they were in the shape of a pyramid. Pyramid, students, you know that that can be seen in Egypt, in the continent of Africa. Then it is topped by a small dome-like structure called Sikhara or Kalasa. Sits over it. The temple had a mandap which acted as an audience room and place for ceremonial dances. Mandap means a place where different type of religious rituals or ceremonies are being conducted. So this is a Hindi word, you may have understood this. The entire structure was enclosed in a courtyard surrounded by high walls and elaborately carved gateways called Gopurams. Students, the designed gateways are known as Gopurams, as I have told you. So one of the most of the temples in the southern India are based on the Dravidian style of architecture. Then, students, we'll study about the Nagara culture. So in North India, students, in North India, many temples came up during the early medieval period. This marked a climax in the temple building activity in the region. The style of temple construction is called the Nagara style. So what was the Nagara style? We will study it in detail. Students, as I have told you that the Dravida style of architecture in temples can be seen mostly in South India. In the same case, in the same way, the Nagara style of architecture is seen in most parts of the northern India. Then, students, the temples were built on a large raised stone platforms, that is called the Jagati. Students, the platform is called Jagati, and the temples had a main tower called the Sikhara. The tower now called the Sikhara. Students, the word Sikhar means top, reaching at the top. That is called the Sikhara word is meant as the main tower. And several small towers were called Urusringa. Small towers, you can say small towers. Urishringa. Okay, students. Then the Sikhara was topped with a Amalaka. There was a design called Amalaka, which is a segmented stone disc, usually with ridges on the rim that sits on the top of the Sikhara. On the top of the Amalaka was a kalasha. Kalasha means, students, a type of a vessel, if so. It is kept at the top of the temple. So by looking at the diagram, you can have a idea. Then, students, the temple had a garbhagriha, that is shrine room. This was the same because that doesn't changes in the Hindu culture. So in the garbhagriha there was the shrine room and also the congregation hall called the mandapa. Mandapa was the congregation hall where different type of religious ceremonies took place. The best examples of this style of architecture, of the Nagara style of architecture, was the Khajuraho. Students, have you ever visited Khajuraho? There is a place which is very famous for different types of very magnificent temples, which is made in the Nagara style of architecture, situated in Madhya Pradesh. The Sun Temple of Konark is also a fine example of this period. Students, the Sun Temple of Konark, situated near Puri, it is also made on the style of the Nagara style of architecture. Students, then apart from this, there a third style of architecture, that is known as the Visara. The third style is known as the Visara style of temple architecture. Combines both the Dravida and the Nagara style. The third style of architecture, that is called the Visara, means it is a combination of Dravida plus Nagara style of architecture or the style. It is found in mostly in the Deccan region. A good example of Visara style is the Kedareshwara temple, Baligavi. It was built by the Hoysala rulers in the Deccan region, especially I think it is in Karnataka. So this type of temples are the examples of the Visara style of architecture. Students, I can show in the textbook that first of all you can have this, that the first one is the Dravida style. This is the Kalasa, the Sikhara, the top one is the Sikhara, then this is the Vimana, the mid part, and if we will see the Nagara style, that this is the Urusunga, means the small towers, they are smaller in height, and Sikhara, this is the Sikhara, this is Kalasa, this is the Amalaka, means there is a round shape, and this is the Kedareshwara temple at Baligavi, is made on the Visara architecture. So students, this was the three styles. The first one is the Dravidian style of architecture, then the second one was the Nagara style of architecture, and the third one was the Visara style of architecture. These three types are majorly seen in different parts of our country during the medieval period. Now also they are also existing. So students, next we will study about the Indo-Islamic architecture, that what made the people to combine the Indian and the Islamic culture, and they made different monuments in the form of the Indo-Islamic architecture. Our next topic is Indo-Islamic architecture. Students, Indo means Indian, then Islamic means related to Islam, and architecture, you know, that art of making buildings. So students, the styles and patterns of construction underwent a radical change, which a great change was seen at the arrival of Turks in India. Students, as the people of our country are known as Indians, the people of Turk, that is called the Turkey, they are known as Turks. Okay students, so the Turks, the Afghans and the Mughals introduced new construction techniques they have learned from their culture. Earlier pillars and beams were in use and the roofs of the houses were used to be flat. This technique was called trabade. Students, this technique was called made where the roofs were flat, and mostly when the Turks, the Mughals, and the Afghans came, the architecture totally changed. The Turks popularized as a new construction technique, which was called the arcuate. It was arcuate. So this was a different technique. Its main features were the arc and dome. Students, you know dome, a semicircular type of roof. You can see in most of the Islamic buildings. A dome is large hemispherical roof or ceiling. Okay, students. Students, the arc, you know, as I have told you, that dome means a hemispherical roof or ceiling, seen mostly in Islamic structures or in a mosque. In mosque also you may have seen this usually seen in every part of our country. The arc is a curved structure built over an opening like a door. In the door itself you can see an arc. Okay, students, in fact the arcs were being made for a very long time, but the very first use of true arc in India was the Balwan's tomb, which was constructed in 1280 AD. In Balwan's tomb in 1280 AD. Okay. So there is the true arc, the use of true arc, it was made in 1280 AD. The true arc had a keystone in the middle. The keystone helped support the weight of the roof by disturbing the pressure evenly along the stones of the sides. Then students, the keystone is the midstone. The first true arc was the Balwan tomb. The new rulers of Delhi introduced a new cementing material in the form of fine lime mortar. They introduced a new pattern of ornamentation called geometrical style. Along with this, they also experimented with colorful lettering, calligraphy, that is called, students, calligraphy. The Turks and the Mughals used colored stones to create designs, not just a single stone. They used some different types of colorful stones. They also started using red sandstone and marble for construction, because that elaborated that design, that highlighted it, and different colors were seen, that it looked more colorful, more designful. The Mughals also built magnificent structures like the mosques, the tombs, the forts, palaces, bawlis, sarais. Sarais means, students, the rest houses, and many notable public buildings. They also laid beautiful gardens. Nisad Bagh, Shalimar Bagh in Srinagar, situated in Jammu and Kashmir. This is one of the examples. So they were very famous. The Mughal architecture, the palaces are also famous for their gardens. Students, if you will visit Taj Mahal, I can say, is an example. Then you can say that the garden is also there. This is a remarkable place. Okay, students, they also tried to design the gardens. Students, then we will move next to the mosques. Students, mosque in Hindi we say masjid, okay, or we can say dargah. So that is the religious place of the Muslim or the Islam people, the people of Islam. Muslims introduced a new religious structure called the mosque or the masjid. With the beginning of the Turkish rule, Delhi came to have the first imperial mosque. Most of the prominent rulers, they raised congregational mosques in the imperial capitals. Qutbuddin Aibak was the first ruler to do so. Later on, sultans such as Alauddin Khilji and Firoz Shah Tughlaq, they also constructed mosques in the imperial capitals and also in the capital provincial headquarters. Mosques were indeed a religious requirement, but like the Rajas who constructed big temples, the Muslim rulers constructed large mosques to seek publicity. Therefore, religious places like mosques were made for worshipping their God. The mosques of the Mughal period are the fine pieces of art and architecture. The mosque at Fatehpur Sikri is an imposing structure. Subsequently, almost all the prominent Mughal emperors constructed large mosques by investing huge amounts of money in their construction. The mosques built during the Shahjahan's reign are the most beautiful among them all. Students, you know Shahjahan is, as we have studied in the previous chapter, is one of the famous Mughal emperors. Sometimes students, he is also known as the engineer king in the Mughal empire or in the Indian history. Only Shahjahan is known as the engineer king in the Indian history among all the Mughal emperors. He had made so lot of buildings like Taj Mahal, Red Fort, the Peacock Throne. So these are very beautiful landmark monuments in the Indian history. So students,